Welcome to Current Cinema. I almost said Current Gen, but it's not that. Hold on a
Oh,
minute, dude.
hold on there, dude. I don't know about that.
It's Current Cinema, episode 2. We made it to another episode. Oh my god, I can't believe it. I'm just
They didn't cancel
so
us.
overwhelmed.
The big guys upstairs, they were like, we like what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep on doing it. The second you have one unsubscribed, though, y'all are out. So
Yeah,
our goal is
Tim
not
didn't
to
Netflix us or HBO Max us or whatever.
Yeah,
he didn't just go, you're removed and all the videos are deleted.
He's
now.
a merciful CEO for sure.
Yeah. So far. We'll see though. We'll say one wrong thing. Yeah, I know. So this episode we are going to be going over. We are going to have returning segments from the first episode. We're just going to do the regular "What did you watch?" One new movie and one, I say new in quotes, and one old movie, and then new-ish. And then we're going to do pick 5, and the topic this week is misunderstood. I'm just calling it misunderstood gems. Like just movies that even if they got a good critical reception, you feel that there's an overwhelming amount of misunderstanding, whether it's online or on podcasts or wherever, and across all of social media, I guess. So yeah, starting out though, I did want to just jump into. Normally we won't really do news, but today, as of the time of this recording, the Oscar nominations did come out. So we're going to go over literally every single category. No, I'm kidding.
I want to know who co-helped in the makeup department of a very specific category. Who's nominated for that?
Let me tell you about makeup real quick. All Quiet. No, I'm kidding.
Makeup's important. The
Batman got nominated.
That's a bad jab.
Batman got nominated for it, and I was like, there was some great makeup in that movie. I'm actually, that's a good call.
Yeah, there may have been an actor in that movie that I didn't even recognize.
So. Yeah, I know exactly. The only thing I really wanted to cover on this, for the sake of time, obviously, is Best Picture. And I feel like the Oscars as a whole is a good snapshot of the year in terms of what came out. But Best Picture especially is like, at least it's a good snapshot of what the industry thought were the best movies of that year. And sometimes they get it pretty dead on. And this year I feel like they got almost all of them. I mean, obviously I would have loved to see the Batman in there and stuff like that you and I love, like The Northman, but that had no shot of getting in there.
The Northman, maybe more than Batman. At least more practical in my mind, but not a lot of caped movies getting up there on the final. I'm still to this day, I still don't believe that like Lord of the Rings was nominated. I'm like, and won, right?
And it won, yeah.
Crazy to me. All these years later, I'm like a fantasy movie.
I want to say it swept, but that might be inaccurate.
I think the trilogy, oh, you mean swept that year?
Yes,
I know it broke a record at the time. But they kept on calling it. It wasn't just one movie; it was a trilogy. So it's kind of like, 3 movies getting more awards.
They were awarding the trilogy basically.
Yeah.
By the time Return of the King came out, it was like Return of the King just got everything.
That makes sense. I do remember that.
Which was great because I was on cloud 9 with that series at that
time. Same here. Yeah. Awesome. And as a kid, I'm 18 at that time, I think. You know, and it's just like watching that like on TV and being like, we won, guys! The nerds won! we did it!
Yeah, that was a
like
great
Star
feeling.
Wars is never getting nominated for Best Picture. It's never gonna happen. It's just
not again.
Not again. Not like new Star Wars. I mean, so it's like you gotta take your wins where we can.
Yeah. Now the industry too. Like insiders, like people that work in the industry are like, oh, freaking Star Wars, man. Like unless they're working on the shows, movies. People like voters are like another Star Wars movie. So of course we're not going to nominate. Something they're sick of, kind of like Marvel.
I think there were many years that they were maybe up for like best SF, special effects, and maybe it should have won, but everyone's just like, it's Star Wars, who gives a shit? We're not giving. I
know it went up. 77 was a banner year for the Academy Awards because it was like Star Wars, Rocky, Annie Hall, and I think there was something else major that was nominated. And it was kind of like, well, what the hell would win then? Because Look at all of those trailblazing titles. Yeah. So I'm trying to find which one. No, that wasn't the year of Rocky. I'm sorry. It was the year of Annie Hall though. So it was Annie Hall. It was really between Annie Hall and Star Wars, I guess. But there were some other ones that I don't recognize. Because sorry, I don't have all the time in the world to watch all these nominated movies.
Movies that came out before the 80s,
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, unless they're
at some point, you're just like, this is old.
Yeah,
this is just old. Exactly. We don't talk like this, no one writes like this anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing wrong with it. It's just
it
is what it is. It's old.
Movies that are like, okay, that's required viewing, bro, because then everybody talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
So outside of that, I'm talking about.
You haven't seen Casablanca? It's
this is when they did five nominations. So it was Annie Hall and Star Wars, of course. But then there's The Goodbye Girl, Julia, and The Turning Point. Nobody talks about those movies at all. At any point, like in movie whatever history. So no, I'm not going to watch them. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
But anyway, this year's though a great crop. I can't say.
Looking at this, even though I haven't seen all the movies, even I was like, oh, Jeff was right. This was actually ended up being a pretty not only decent movie year for movies, but like in general, I feel like they picked right, but also like kind of obvious, you know. But
yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't. You said first thing this morning. I'm like, I don't feel like there was a lot of snubs this year, and I was like,
yeah.
Every year I have to hear from you about all the snubs. And like I didn't get my yearly paragraph. I didn't get anything like that, you know? Like you were pretty like, yeah, all right.
There's only one snub and I'll get to it, but and it's in a different category. But like Best Picture, as far as that goes, we got All Quiet on the Western Front. That's on Netflix, by the way. Avatar: The Way of Water, which was obvious, like a shoo-in. As soon as it started making the millions again, like the first one, I was like, well, it's going to get nominated.
I mean, I plan to almost never see this movie, but I totally think it belongs there because you're talking about a cultural, like this is 1977 Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, you're bringing something no one's ever seen before in a way that like is blowing people's minds again, bringing them back to a place that like
it blew my mind, and I don't
and you went in wanting to hate it. I was there leading up to those weeks. You wanted to hate that movie, so like coming out the other side of it, you know. In a as positive as you could have been type of way was surprising. So again, like I totally think it should be up there, and I know that
for
like
sure. Just for
a lot of people who are like, well, look, they put Avatar up there, so other Kate movies should be up there. I was like, yeah, but no matter how many Marvel movies they put out a year, like combined, they usually don't make as much as Avatar made alone. You know, like that's a cultural event where everybody on Earth went and sat their butt in the theater and saw a movie.
Right.
Give it a statue or a nomination for a statue. Don't give it. Please don't. Yeah, give it a nom for sure.
I predict it'll only come away with one win this year, but I could be wrong because cinematography is wide open after pretty hardcore snub in that category. But
I guess we're gonna get to that one.
Yeah, well, a lot of it too. So I should just say, All Quiet on the Western Front is freaking great. That is in my top 10 of the year from last year. It's like number 6 or 7 or something. So it's definitely deserving. I'm just a little surprised. Like the betting odds like kind of shifted. I think a week before the nominations were announced, and All Quiet just started creeping up into every category. And sure enough, they got 9 nominations for this movie. Like it was more than anybody expected. I just expected like maybe international film because it's German mostly, and sound maybe because war movies always get best sound nominations or whatever because they got to make that shit from scratch in the studio or whatever. But yeah, so it did really well, and it's highly deserving. Banshees of Inisherin.
That's the movie I really want to get to, but like it's
you're gonna
3 hours of reading, so you know I have to like have to walk in ready. You know.
Yeah, you kind of do have to prepare yourself a little bit.
I'm really excited for that movie. I've literally only heard good things. So
it's incredible. If you're gonna remake a movie, this is how you do it. So Banshees of I guess it's not a remake. It's more of an actual honest adaptation of
the real adaptation of the book.
Yeah, instead of like an Americanized version of German soldiers or whatever.
What are you saying? We mess things up when we adapt things every year? Is that what you're trying to say, Jeff?
That movie won so many awards that year. And it's a great movie, but it was just so American. But the Banshees of Inisherin is also one that got like I think it got the second most nominations behind All Quiet on the Western Front. Like they both got 9, I think. Highly deserving. We've talked about that movie before. We freaking love it. On the Current Gen podcast, mainly we talked about that one.
Yeah.
Elvis got a lot of love across the board. It's every year there's a movie that the Academy is going to love more than the average viewer.
Sure. This movie is super mids to me, but whatever.
Yeah, it's
I think you don't even like this director, so I think you came out like, oh, that wasn't a giant piece of shit, you know?
Yeah,
but like,
I came out going, well, the second half was extremely good. Like,
so for me, like I read it into it going, oh, this is going to be great then because he liked it. Because you don't like this director, and like I tolerate him. I wouldn't say that I'm a fan. I tolerate him.
Yeah, Baz.
And I came out of the movie. I was like, oh yeah, that was a competent film. It was fine, and I literally haven't thought about it until recently.
I didn't realize. See, I didn't even know you watched it because there's so little to say about it.
Like, what am I going to say? I'm like, yeah, it's a movie about Elvis. He did an Elvis
exactly.
Accent. He did pretty good at it.
Aside from Austin Butler,
guy. I don't.
Yeah, who's Austin Butler, who is great and transformed for that role.
He's great.
To the point
still
where
talking in that accent.
Off.
He's so
he
good.
Can't turn it off now. He's been
Which
doing
is
it so
fine.
long.
Everyone's like, "Oh, weird." I'm like, it happens, guys. Like,
who cares?
Al Pacino couldn't drop his Scarface accent for like 6 months after shooting, so it's like, leave the guy, leave him alone. He's a kid.
Leave him alone.
He's like
and it's
20
also
or
not
something.
that dissimilar. I watched some earlier footage of him just talking in an interview in a kind of a quiet setting, and I was like, yeah, his voice is just pitched down a little bit more. It's not that drastic to me. I don't know. But yeah, the movie is definitely better.
It'll probably win something.
Yeah, midvis, mid, whatever. Yeah, it's probably gonna win like best costume or production design or something like that. But yeah, I definitely saw this coming. I saw this being a movie that was like, yeah, the Academy's gonna give it a bunch of freaking nominations.
It is competent. It's a competent movie. You know,
certainly,
yeah.
I mean, they definitely have a hard on for Baz Luhrmann for sure. They went all out for Moulin Rouge for sure.
Yeah,
The movie's fine.
Let's talk about it for 20 minutes.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is the one that got the most nominations. It got 11 nominations, and yeah, movie's okay. So moving on,
I don't have anything to say about this movie.
We have nothing to say about this movie. Nothing profound at all. It's just a phenomenal movie. I mean, I feel like there are too many people that are letting this is just generally speaking too. There are too many people that let like the hype or other people's feelings online about a movie influence how they watch a movie.
Yeah.
And I've encountered that with a few friends where they're like, yeah, Everything Everywhere was just a little overhyped for me. And I'm like, that's on you.
Did that. But yeah, you did that to yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you can't just blame literally everybody else.
We've been interneting a long time, guys. We should know how to navigate these waters, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Yeah.
Catch up.
So I'm not saying you're wrong for not loving it as much as everybody else. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying don't let that noise, even if it's positive, influence how you.
In fact, like once you hear a couple people go, "Hey, it's like the best thing I've ever seen," like stop, like don't engage in conversation until you see it. You know what I mean? Because like, and don't take that to heart either. Just go, "Oh, they really liked it.
Yeah,
let me go check this out." You know, like you can put up barriers, you know, to kind of make sure that you're or let the hype fly, but know how to reel it back in at the right moment. Exactly. Like I do. I'm excited about everything, but then like at the right moment I go, "Oh, all right, let's bring this back in real quick." Pump the brakes a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I do love that. We both love this movie. I think it was both of our number ones for the year. The Fabelmans was nominated. This surprises nobody. It's Spielberg. Autobiographical movie. Someone told me it's a movie-ass movie. Would you confirm that?
Okay. It is it not in the sense where it's a lot of movie. Like, you know how sometimes we watch an epic like Everything Everywhere and it's like there's a lot of movie in that movie.
Yeah,
it's not like that.
Sure.
This is literally a movie about movies, so it's a movie-ass movie.
It's a movie-ass movie. Yeah.
And it's a Spielberg-ass movie at that too. Like,
and like
Spielberg so hard in this movie. It's
yeah,
such great camera work and like such great like shadow play.
For it. I like this whole thing, like the way that he grew up or whatever really resonates me.
Fascinating.
In a
like
really
somebody
way, so.
phrased it interestingly in a way that I didn't really consider, where they were like, this is about like the guy that like Spielberg became this dude that kind of just left his family to go do this freaking outrageous thing in Hollywood, and like abandon any ideas of, I mean, eventually he had kids and stuff, but like abandon any ideas of family and stuff until, you know, he cast his wife in Temple of Doom, obviously.
He did that, guys.
But I'm just saying he made sacrifices along the way, and it's just interesting to see how, like, what made those decisions come to the forefront of his brain and like why he did that. Anyway, it's a good movie. It's not gonna, I mean, it ended up in my top 25, but like we're talking like a 25.
But of like what, like 400
really
movies?
Yeah, I don't like it's 400 movies.
It's still pretty good. Yeah,
it's still pretty good. Yeah. Tar got nominated, and this movie is there's a lot of movie in this movie, that's for sure. It's not Everything Everywhere epic, but I still think about it. I still have to like I'm doing now. I still have to like stop and like go, what do I want to say about this movie? Because it's very complicated. It's about a composer who's kind of at the top of her game, Kate Blanchett, played by Kate Blanchett. She's amazing. She's probably going to win the Oscar if Michelle Yeoh doesn't.
That's surprising because she always shows up and just phones it in.
I know, she's so terrible in everything.
Yeah, like it's so crazy how much she just.
But like in this one in particular, you can kind of make parallels between her journey and certain like directors that fall out of the limelight and stuff. But she kind of gets caught in this whole scandal about her career and how she's carried herself. And there's an excellent, I can just share a scene with you out of context and you'll be like, holy shit, this scene's amazing. It'll make you want to watch the rest of the movie. It's a scene that happens very early on, and it's a conversation between her and a student about cancel culture and how some people nowadays are intrinsically tying their identity to their ability to appreciate art. Like they don't know how to, like the student that she was talking to in particular, I think he was like, I think he called himself BIPOC, so he's multiracial, and he said he was gay or something. And he's basically explaining in so many words that he doesn't listen to old ass music by white guys because it doesn't match with who he is as a person. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of explaining, man, you just got to watch this scene because the dialogue is so freaking rich. You can just, it's so good. And then there's there's a whole psychological element to the movie too that I read several articles on later after I saw it, that I was like, oh, this kind of unravels the movie in a totally different way. So I'm still thinking about it. Like it might be a triangle sadness situation where it just climbs up higher and higher in my rankings.
Sure.
For now, it was like at 20 when I posted my list, but it's probably going to go a lot higher. But I probably should just rewatch it, honestly, because there's a lot of stuff happening that you're like, what was the point of that? And you kind of have to go back and watch it and reassess it. But I'll have to share that scene with you because it's extraordinary. Sure. So good. It's a little bit of both categories. Like both people in the scene are right and wrong at the same time. It's great.
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick movie nobody saw. Nobody saw any of these movies.
Yeah. Remember when everyone was talking about this movie like 2 months ago, and then Avatar came out, and everyone's like, "Who gives a crap about Top Gun?" Yeah.
I remember
the most visually spectacular thing you'll see in theater all year. Top Gun. Avatar came out, and they're like, "That was so dumb."
There were these reviewers that they tend to get hyperbolic. We both are guilty of being hyperbolic, especially when we're verbally just talking to each other about something we're excited about. But when reviewers do it in their tweets, and they are professional reviewers, you should know what. You got to know that what your words carry. The fact that there was this one reviewer who I follow, and I think he's actually kind of a great follow, and he's got a lot of good insight in indie movies that I tend to go, whatever, dude. But he's got a lot of good insight. That's my point. But when his Avatar 2 tweet review came out, it was like, this is one of the best movies I've seen in theaters in like a long time. And everybody replied back, you mean like since July? Since Top Gun? Everybody was like, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, bro. I know, yeah. But that's how quick the industry moves too. It's like, that was so 1,000 years ago. Like, dude, it was 2 months ago. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, these are nominated in the same year, in the same category. Like, breaks a little bit. I rewatched Top Gun Maverick 2 nights ago. I went to bed super late. Yeah. And it's just divine, dude. It's such a great movie. And I'm not sitting here saying the script is amazing, which did get nominated somehow. Because the script is full of those cliches from action movies that we all know.
Crazy to me.
I know, it's insane.
The movie never stops and explains to me how a bartender in a small town that's an army town can own like an Audi and a boat, a yacht, like, I'm like, who does she think she is? Like,
and her dad her dad's like an admiral that's retired now. There's no way she's living off of him. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough about how much military people make or whatever. But
I know. I did love the scene. Speaking of financial moments in the movie, I did love the scene where she's like, you're gonna have to pay for a round for everybody because you had your phone on the bar.
You can't afford that.
And she goes to run his credit card and it gets declined. And I'm like, thank you, movie. There's no freaking way. He just got fired. Like, he just got demoted.
He's going base to base, just got demoted. Yeah. He's going to buy a round in the whole bar. Like, all right.
So
anyways, we're saying it's the worst script of the year, guys. Like that's.
I'm just surprised that it got nominated for that category.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
whatever it was.
It's not Bohemian Rhapsody getting nominated for best editing levels of bad, but like it's questionable.
I love that. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter too before the nominations came out. It's so funny that you mentioned that because that clip was trending again.
Of course it was. Yeah.
Of the diner. I think they're meeting at an outside diner, like a cafe.
They're outside having a meeting with
and there's just cut after cut
Rob
after
Stark.
cut.
Yeah.
And like somebody posted a quote from the editor of the movie who said, I didn't even get to finish my cut. I had to turn in what I had because the movie needed to come out. So like he won an award and he was like confused. He was like, I didn't even finish the movie, and I got to win an award for it. Like,
wow, yeah, he must feel like fraud syndrome, big time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That's so funny.
Imposter syndrome.
And also the tweet that reshared the clip was like, I love that this is an example of bad editing that anybody, if you're a movie fan or not, can watch and go, this is bad editing.
Yeah.
Because that's so tricky to pull
I showed it to somebody and they were like, that gave me a headache. I go, yeah. Exactly. It
did. How do you think I feel when I watch Baz Luhrmann movies? Because that's his thing, right? Is being frenetic.
I'm having 6 Underground flashbacks right now, pretty bad.
I know, exactly. It's incomprehensible stuff. Like Ambulance does that a lot of the time too.
Hey, Michael Bay, don't.
Hey, stop. Whatever you're gonna do, stop it.
Stop that. Let a scene breathe. Jesus Christ.
I gotta pay some respects to Elvis for having all the Baz Luhrmann bull crap in the beginning, and this very front heavy with all the fast editing, and then like I think at the halfway mark when it starts getting a little more serious and dramatic and melodramatic, and sometimes in bad ways, I feel like it kind of grounds itself a little better. And I'm like, thank you for showing restraint when you needed to, because the script demanded you to do that. Anyway, enough about freaking Elvis. Top Gun Maverick's fantastic. I can't wait to watch it again. Every single time I watch it now, I'm like,
dude, when the final mission starts, or the only mission in that movie starts,
yeah, it really is the only mission, right?
It's 45 minutes of electricity, and like I'm saying that this was my avatar this year. I didn't even want to hear it from Jeff that this movie was good. I was like, shut up. It's so dumb. I saw 10 minutes of that, like, the tag session, like in theaters. And I literally go, that's dumb. I'm never going to see this movie. It was shot really well. Don't get me wrong. But like, I just had no. Yeah. But like, boy, that movie really won me over. And ended up in my top 10, which is crazy. Like, it's just.
Yeah, I know.
I've seen it twice. Can't wait to see it again.
I think it's like top 5 for me somewhere. Like, I think it's 4 or something like that. Because every time I thought about it more and more, I was just like, no, there's a spectacle element to this that deserves to be respected.
It's out of this world.
And it's like a practical spectacle too, which is kind of a tongue twister in its own way. But it's like they're doing this stuff in camera, which is insane. Yeah. It's just insane. God damn, that movie's so special.
I have some audible gasp moments in that movie. Like,
oh yeah, me too. I was sitting next to somebody because I saw it in an early screen. It was like a week early screening, but it was completely full, sold out. I hadn't been to a screening like that in ages, where it was like from the front row to the back, it was completely full, and it was a big auditorium. It was not a small one. But the girl next to me, I don't know who she was, but she was doing the audible thing of like, oh God, like the whole movie. And I'm like, you're ruining the tension. And the fact that you're buying it too is crazy, because there's moments like back to back within 20 minutes of each other of identical moments of Tom Cruise being in peril, like identical moments. And then an explosion saves them. And you're like, come on. And I'm like, this girl's like buying it the whole time.
She's as bought in as the first time. Yeah, that's great. Good for her, She's watching movies on a level you and I could never get to.
I know, exactly. It's like, no, we're too jaded now. It's too late for us. Triangle of Sadness did squeak in there, man. It got nominated for Best Picture, and I love that.
The surprise. Yeah, this is the surprise of the nominations for me, for sure.
I think guesses were that Babylon would get nominated, especially because it's a movie about old Hollywood. And I love that shit out of that movie. And you're not going to hear that. I still need
to really see that, and like you see just as much bad as good.
Exactly. You're not going to hear that. It's a very polarizing movie, but I love the hell out of it. And everybody else that was in the theater with me, it wasn't a sold out showing or anything, and it was a small auditorium, but still everybody else was like clapping and like laughing their ass off. From all different backgrounds. Like, I mean, there was like an Indian couple behind me. There's like a black couple up here or whatever, like all different backgrounds. Like they were just laughing they loved it. And I was like, see, this is what people like. This is why you go to see movies like this. Like,
yeah.
Damien Chazelle, dude, he's just on another level for me.
I'm here for, and like you said, it's super debaucherous. I'm like in.
Oh man. Yeah. There's so many
all the way in on that.
So many bodily foods in the first like 15 minutes. It's great.
Sign me up.
Might be a little too debaucherous for some people. That's probably why they're like, because it's like, well, there's no way it was like that back then. I was like, you don't fucking know. You don't know.
I bet you it was, dude.
Yeah, there was no social media back then. Of course they were.
Yeah, I almost promise you it was. So.
I almost promise you, yeah. So Triangle of Sadness, I'm super happy to see that get in there. We've already talked about it on the last podcast. We both loved it. I think the bigger surprise is the director got nominated and squeaked into the Best Director category, which is only 5 still.
A slim category.
Yeah, I feel like they should expand that to 10, because actors get 10 nominations. Even if they split it up by gender, total they get 10. for Best Actor, Best Actress, and then Best Supporting gets 10. Picture gets 10. Why isn't Director getting 10? It just doesn't make sense to me. But okay, whatever. But anyway,
they only direct the movie. You know.
I'm happy that Triangle of Sadness dude got nominated, Ruben Östlund, because he I feel like he had the toughest job on his film. Granted, he wrote his script, I think, but just that juggling act of like 3 very distinct sections of a movie and having to tie it into each other somehow, thematically, visually, it's just incredible, the work that he did on that movie. I'm super happy it's nominated. And then Women Talking got nominated. I think this was going to be a shoo-in as well for Best Picture. I had it in my guesses since October. I was like, this is going to get nominated for sure. It's a really good movie. Talked about it last week as well. It's kind of funny. The last 2 ones we talked about already. Yeah, I think there were complaints about no female directors being nominated, and that's kind of why I say I think they should expand the field. A lot of award shows already do that. Maybe not the main ones like Golden Globes, but Critics' Choice expands it to 10. Mm-hmm. And it just creates more opportunity, man. Sure. And not only that, but it's also an industry-wide issue. The women aren't being handed Avatar. They're not being handed Top Gun. So
yeah,
how can they get nominated for stuff they don't get the job for?
Right. Which is its own conversation, but that at the end of the day, there's only so many people you can nominate, and it's really slim in a thing of 5. So
that's the thing. I've always called it just the curse of having to nominate 5, and if I had to pick 5 as well, I would struggle. It would be hard for me to fit a woman in there too, and not that I would be actively thinking of who can I fit in here to fit a quota.
I need to get 3 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. I was not that I would be thinking that, but it's just that there were so many great movies across the board that I was like, if you look at my top 25, for example, I forgot that most of them were directed by dudes. It's just that's back of my mind type thing. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Really,
it's your male privilege.
Go back and list the list basically, and I'm like, oh shit. I think a couple snubs worth noting, I guess. Nope didn't get any nominations at all, which is
crazy.
It's insanity.
That's another Hollywood-centric movie, kind of
I would say.
Some of its
there's
themes,
some allusions to it. Yeah. I mean, it's about being filmed, right? And to some extent.
Yeah.
It's having your trauma filmed and how you deal with it. Yeah. I feel like that movie should have gotten Best Sound at least, because when I saw it in a theater, I was doing this a lot. I was looking around who was that? But it was just the movie. The sound was so freaking incredible, man. Especially during that barn scene where it's a fake out. Spoilers on that scene, I guess. But there's some really great sound design in a theatrical setting, specifically designed for the theater setting. That of course it should have been nominated. And then screenplay, of course, I would have nominated it for that.
I would have nominated for screenplay at least.
Yeah, I mean Jordan Peele. Every single time I would nominate him for screenplay. He's just
we have to
such
put him
original
down.
ideas,
Yeah. He's not. He's going off book for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then the biggest, I think the most egregious snub, I've kind of already alluded to it, was cinematography. I said Top Gun, legit filmed. I would say most of their sequences they legit filmed, in plane, in camera. Each actor had their own camera. They had to control and stuff like that while they're pretend flying or whatever. But it's still a lot of work, and it's still a lot of coordination between the cinematographer and the director, and I'm sure the stunt coordinators as well. It feels like a slap in the face because it
does. Yeah.
In the betting odds, Top Gun was number 1 for as long as I can remember. For months, it was number 1 for best cinematography, and now it's not even in the freaking category at all. So who the hell's whoever's gonna win? I mean, it's kind of bastardized version of the award because there's no way you're gonna be as good as Top Gun. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
I
what a wild one.
What a wild one. It just doesn't make sense. That's the only one that's what the hell. To me, at least. I'm sure there's some other people that might have other snubs that they can think of. Whatever.
They're wrong.
They're wrong, though. They're wrong. This is the first one for sure. But overall, I'm actually pretty happy with the quality of nominees that came out.
Nice.
I'm like every year. I pretty much never watched a show live. I pretty much just go either to YouTube later or I just watch a Hulu and fast forward through bullshit. And that's it. But other than that, I try to stick to just watching everything that's nominated, because sometimes you get good stuff out of that, and sometimes you don't, but that's okay.
Sometimes they'll lead you wrong, but usually, I mean, like, there's a nugget in there. Yeah.
I would say for the most part, for sure, it's like, oh, I'm glad I watched that,
Yeah.
And I think of and I'm talking about literally everything, even things that are nominated Best Costume. I think I only have like 8 things I haven't seen, and I'm talking like movies and shorts, because I did a lot of short film homework like late last year, and I guess that paid off.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a whole group of people. There's a subreddit called Oscars Death Race. I don't know why they call it Death Race. You could just call it Race, but it's literally just people trying to watch all the Oscar nominations as fast as they can and like get a timestamp on it, basically. And now they have their own website for it, so you can like log when it's not Letterboxd. It's like you just basically hit watched, and then it like logs. Okay, you've completed 95% of whatever, and like it's kind of, it's very nerdy.
Sure.
But they are a good resource for like, where can I find this movie? I can't find it anywhere, and it's a community. They help each other find movies to watch.
Nice.
That are nominated, which is awesome. So I'm nerdy as shit when it comes to movies. So yeah, we're gonna move on to things we're watching. What did you watch is the segment name, I guess, that we're lazily going with. And what did you watch something? Are you gonna go with what you just watched?
I watched something old and something new. So which one are we doing first?
Oh, let's do something new.
Something new? Okay, yeah. I literally just got done watching last year's Duel.
And that's what D-U-A-L.
D-U-A-L, but it's about a D-U-E-L between D-U-A-Ls. So, yeah. You see it? You see what he did there?
Right.
Okay. Anyways, yeah. This is from and you might have to remind me of the name, but the guy who did Art of Self-Defense a few years ago.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely love that movie.
Love the shit out of that movie, dude. That was like I think I gave that 5 stars on Letterboxd. I was like,
and I was excited to sit down and watch this movie, but the second you told me, hey, this is that guy, I go, oh, I would have watched this like a year ago. And I know I had that information at some point. It just, fluttered away. But
I didn't bring it up because it didn't make my like top whatever,
Yeah.
So I forgot to, bring it up.
Super fun movie. I really enjoyed it. This particular director has a very weird tone that he likes to really lock into.
Yeah.
And it makes it like Karen Gillan's very robotic in this role. Her line delivery is very weird. It might be off-putting to some. But it's exactly like Jesse Eisenberg's role in Art of Self-Defense. It's almost like they had an acting coach. It's like, you're going to talk in this cadence, just like this, in this tone, with this, kind of amount of bass and yada yada.
Yeah,
it's very eerie.
She wears the dialogue extremely well. The way that
and it works for her really well, because she has a really good deadpan face that she's kind of wearing the entire time, and it's a really cool movie. And I guess the concept is that like there's this service that's provided to people who are about to die, terminally ill, suicidal people. Where they can replicate their bodies into a clone, and that clone can go on living in place of you while you can, F off to the afterlife or whatever. There's a rule, though, like if something were to happen where the donor, the human, stays alive, you have to duel for the place to live as that one person.
I think the movie opens with that, right? The movie
opens with that, and it's very like. You never question it. It's just like this is how it is, and you're like, okay. The movie doesn't dwell on it, why it's like this, yada yada. It doesn't go into any of that. It's like, this is how it is, and this is the movie. And I actually really enjoyed it.
It's kind of like when there's a turn with Aaron Paul's character where he's like, I want to know how to dance, and I'm like, I guess this is the movie. I guess this is. His character wants to do this. Like,
so they learn how to hip hop dance. It's very it's something.
So ridiculous.
And there's a whole scene where they're doing a song to Getting Low, and it's silly. And there's a lot of silliness in this movie. And like I called it in my like mini Letterboxd review, like intentional, unintentional humor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's like it's just really dry, and like, they want you to laugh at it, but like it's almost, I don't know, it almost seems like it's unintentional humor, but it's very intentional how it's
very
set up
intentional, but it's like they want people to laugh at different times. Like they want the humor to strike people differently at different times. Especially like that scene in The Doctor when she goes to see the doctor and she gets her prognosis or whatever, and she's being told like you're terminally ill, and they're like kind of debating what the chances are of her survival and stuff like that, and that whole exchange is just so effing funny to me.
Let me give you a baseball analogy.
Oh, this is the movie. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, I'm here.
It's weird. Yeah, it's like what they're talking about is uncomfortable, so it shouldn't be funny, but you're laughing because like the way that they're debating it is insane, kind of, you know. So.
And how casually they're just emotionlessly floating through the conversation about death is just so funny to me. Like it's just like unique. It's like an inconvenience. Like let's just get all this conversation out of the way about death and stuff, and it's really funny to me. It struck me as hilarious.
You know, and Karen Gillan, more famous these days for Nebula from the Marvel Universe. You know, this is a much different type of role for her. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think she knocks it out of the park or whatever. And Aaron Paul's really good in this too. I thought.
He's great.
He was great. Yeah.
Yeah, she really brought it, especially having to play like two people. And I know that they're a lot alike and stuff as they admit to each other, but there's still some differences between them, at least ambition wise and goal wise. Some personality traits are a little different too. I think I told this to you. I'm not going to spoil the ending or anything, but I did have to rewind the ending the first time I watched the movie. And by the way, I watched the movie the first time literally a year ago to this week because it premiered at Sundance last year.
Oh wow!
And then it came out, and then like somebody bought it, and then it came out on Hulu like in the fall or something like that. So it's been that long for me.
And it's on Hulu now, so you can go out and watch this movie right now.
Yeah, it's been a freaking long time, but for me, but yeah. So like I remember because Sundance is. They just give you an app. Like here's access to an app. It's a temporary app that you have access to for just a limited amount of time that the festival is occurring. And they let you fast forward and rewind and pause. There's no like, you can't do that because you bought a ticket to a premiere event. You can't do. They give you 5 hours. If you press play, you have 5 hours to finish your movie. So with this one, I was just rewinding. I was like, what the hell did I miss? I thought I missed a scene, and you validated that too. Like I was like, thank you.
Yeah. No, there's just some. The movie's just weird enough where like you can convince yourself like I must have missed something here.
Yeah.
You didn't. It's exactly what you think it is. Yeah.
It's just an entirely like an extremely subtle exchange that they have, and then it moves on to the next thing, which could have been hours later, days later, but.
It's a hard cut. Yeah, it's
exactly.
a super hard cut. And there's actually a few of those at the end where you're like, oh, like even like the final hard cut, like just to the forest, you're like, oh, it's jarring, but like in a way, it's purposeful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
It was really good, man. I really like the vibe this guy's pumping out. You know, so
I'm a huge fan of those movies that kind of analyze what it means to really, I don't know, to with all of your being want a certain thing, and then when you get that thing, it's like I don't know if this was really what I wanted or whatever. Like I mean, I just love those type of themes and stuff. That might have been a little too spoilery, but there's some of that in the movie.
Yeah.
So the movie I watched that's new, it's quite literally new in a sense that I don't think anybody's even bought it at Sundance, but Sundance is happening right now. I got tickets to 12 movies so far.
Just got back on the plane. You just flew back.
I am back. I am back from Utah or wherever the hell it is.
Sundance.
Sundance. Sundance, Utah.
That's the name of the city, right?
I bought like 12 online screening tickets, and then I bought 5 more for just the jury winners. Because I suspect that the jury winners will be movies that are showing in person that I can't see. And I'm fingers crossed for that, because if it's movies I've already seen, I'll be like, son of a bitch. And then the pass I got ensures that I can watch all the shorts I want to watch as well, which I may do. I don't know, but it's there if I want to do it. And it's a good way to pad your Letterboxd numbers. I'm just throwing that out there to anybody that likes to do that.
Yeah, I did it for Disney's shorts one day, and I was like, like 15 movies out of that. That was great.
It was like when Groot did his little short movie things. I was like, oh, there's 6 movies I can log on. Even though like 3 minutes.
Log all these bad boys. Yeah.
They're all 3 minutes, and I don't know how to rate them, but okay, let's put them on there. Get those diary numbers up, or film log, whatever it is. whatever number it's under. I think it's logged. I can't remember. Anyway, so the movie that I wanted to bring up, it was a movie I just watched as well. That's part of Sundance. It's Daisy Ridley's new movie. It's an indie movie that she helped. I think she co-produced it actually. It's based on a short film that's by the same title. It's called Sometimes I Think About Dying. I can guarantee if anybody buys this movie, and the fact that they haven't yet might be a little telling. But if anybody buys this movie, they're totally going to just change the title to her character name. Her character name is Fran. And this follows, she plays a social, so the synopsis says, a socially awkward office worker who spends most of her time in isolation and daydreams of her own death. And then there's a new person that comes to work who
same girl.
There's a new person that comes to work, and that's played by David Murhay. If you looked him up, you'd recognize him for sure. He's been in Rami. Well, I guess you don't watch Rami, so. But he is a stand-up comedian. I know that much. He's like bald, has glasses, has a beard.
Yeah.
And I think he's like Arabic or something. I don't know.
What's the last name?
Merheje. But yeah, he's like a new coworker of hers. And he's a little more outgoing, and he's actually like, he's funny in an undeniable way where even I'm laughing as an audience member at some of his jokes. Like, It's not just office funny, it's genuinely funny.
Sure.
And there are definitely characters in this movie because it's a workplace dramedy of sorts, where there are people that are work funny, and the audience is meant to watch that and go, oh God, this person's so cringe because they're just all about the hoorah company culture, and it's so annoying. But with him, he's just a genuinely funny guy. So Daisy Ridley's character and him, they hit it off, and only in a way really that she can hit it off with somebody being who she is. Because I view this movie as a study of an introvert, but not just of an introvert in the sense where like you go out to bars and you talk to somebody who's like, I'm extremely introverted, and I'm like, no, you're not.
you're outside right now.
Yeah, you're fine. It's not in that sense where drunk people might say it and think it means something. It is in a genuine sense where every choice, you can see her decision-making process in her face when it comes to social interactions.
Very expressive face.
She's normally like in every scene, almost. She's normally in the background by the door where everybody else is clumped towards the center of the room. She's by the door just hanging out doing this, not talking. She's just not present in socially on any level and has no desire to be. It's too much work for her. And so I admired that aspect of it. Like I was like, give me more introvert cinema. Let's call it that. Yeah. Give me more of this like, and like hyper introverted where it's like they can't help it and they want to socialize more, but they can't. Like they just don't have it in them. They're not built that way. And man, she sells it so well. And there's some elements of depression in there, but certainly not the depression that I might identify with. I don't mean to out myself, but I came out as depressed. But it's like obviously everybody's depression is different. But for me, what struck me with her character is she's more of an introvert to the point where it's like painful for her to be social on any level. So it's interesting seeing her try a relationship with this guy, and she has no idea how to describe herself to him. Like she's asking him all the questions that you would ask somebody that you were just getting to know. And she's like, I don't know, I like to do this sometimes. And she's giving him nothing because it's too hard for her. I don't know. The movie's like a little thin though, but I think it's deliberate because it's trying to show you how she normally lives her life and what it's like when she steps outside of what she normally lives her life. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So clearly she's making choices to be more sociable, and I need to feel the weight of that. So the movie that means the movie is thinner that way, narratively.
Yeah.
So it's not like something I'll tell people to go rush out and see, but Daisy Ridley is quite good in the movie. And I'm always rooting for her because I feel like Hollywood has kind of wrong her and John Boyega, honestly. I feel like both of them kind of have a stench on them. Even though you and I both love the Star Wars new trilogy.
Yeah. And I love
something
both
in the industry is like the industry is not
it did the same thing to Mark Hamill, did the same thing to Hayden Christensen, there's a hit. Well, Hayden Christensen's not exactly the most talented guy in the world at that time, right. So it's like maybe it's not the same for him, but like Mark Hamill, obviously pretty talented dude, got slept on for years. So I don't know if there's like some kind of Star Wars stink or whatever. It's the Madden curse, you know, of Hollywood cinema.
It feels like it because everybody else that was already cast, everybody else was cast in the movie. John Boyega aside, he was in Attack the Block. That might have been the only thing people had seen him in before.
Such a good movie.
It's great. But other than that, Oscar Isaac was a name, you know, like Gwendoline Christie is a name. Like there are people that already had their career trajectory before the Star Wars trilogy, but
Star Wars is a stop, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Whereas these two, this was like the foundation of the new trilogy was built around them, and something about the reception, even if they were received well, I have a feeling that Hollywood would still be like, oh, they're the Star Wars
agree
kids.
With that.
You know, like
no. Like, it's the same reason why Daniel Radcliffe's not getting picked in every single movie. And I know it's a choice for him as well, but like, there's a Harry Potter stink there. Yeah. That even exists on people like what's her face, Hermione, whatever that actress. Yeah. There's even kind of like well, we can't get her. And again, I think a lot of that's choice too. I think she doesn't like to act as much these days, and Daniel Radcliffe likes to choose his scripts and stuff like that. But there feels like there's a stink on these like legacy movies,
and it makes no sense because those movies, especially more than the new Star Wars trilogy, were more well received. But the industry, meaning like agents, casting directors, can't help but see them in those roles. And I feel like Daisy Ridley and John Boyega last year. John Boyega last year had this movie called Breaking, where he holds up a bank on a very slow business day where it's just 2 employees or whatever. And he's holding them up because the VA has shorted him the money that he
I really wanted to see this.
He is so good. He is Denzel level good in that movie. Like it is. Wow. And I already saw it as like a Denzel type movie because it's kind of a John Q story a little bit. But John Q has more of an ensemble, and this one's more like kind of a COVID movie a little bit, where it's like 2 people in a bank and then him. But he is so effing good in that movie. There just weren't a lot of eyes on it. But the point is that he's choosing to do an indie movie to get his feet wet with the actual like prestige roles, and I feel like this is what Daisy's doing here.
Good for her.
Especially as a producer,
and they got money, so if they're putting up producer bucks or whatever, like to kind of get these projects off the ground that they're like really passionate about, like that's a good way to get in, man. I mean, I imagine Daniel Radcliffe did something similar,
I was gonna go back to that. Daniel Radcliffe had to fight for his life after Harry Potter in the indie world, in the indie movie world, where he's doing the farting zombie movie, and like which is depending on who you ask.
The movie where he shows his penis with the horse or whatever, whatever that was.
That was a play or whatever. So like he was having to like kind of start over completely to be like, no, I'm not just a franchise actor in a franchise role. I am an actor. Like
they go through it, man. They just go through it. Like Natalie Portman wasn't gonna get hit by Star Wars. She had a career, like you're saying. Like these people like were people before they entered into Star Wars, but like. These franchise movies just suck people in like a black hole. And it's really hard for them to get out of it. And
that's why the Stranger Things kids have it made, because they chose to do a TV show. Like, even though it's really popular, almost to the level of Star Wars, it's a TV show. So that means they can go branch out and do movie roles. Like Millie Bobby Brown's doing just fine. I've even seen
Mr. Finn Wolfhard's doing fine.
I've seen Galen Mattanzaro, whatever his last name is, something Italian. I've seen him in movie roles too. I've seen him in movie roles too, and I'm like, oh, you're in shit too. Like, I mean, these kids.
Good. Good for those kids.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Bunch. But what I'm trying to say is Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, you should have just done TV series. So whenever sometimes I think about dying comes out, and it's probably going to be retitled to.
That's a wordful. That's a mouthful.
And it's morbid, so it's a little too morbid to sell.
Especially if it's not as morbid as the title is, because you're describing some funny elements and stuff.
Yeah, it's not really like they were really true to the title being sometimes, because they don't spend like half the movie of her imagining these scenarios of her dying. There actually aren't any explicit or gross death scenes in the movie. It's just like there will be a scene of her laying in the forest somewhere, and she'll be a corpse. And there'll be bugs all over her. And that's it. That's all it is. It's not anything graphic,
Flash.
like And it's not like suicidal thoughts. So
I think a lot of people have those type of thoughts. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if I just died right here?
Yeah, like freaking insane.
Like, I think that's pretty normal too.
I mean, especially when you're somebody that, I mean, granted, she's far more introverted than anybody I've ever seen on a movie. But especially when you're that degree of like in a rut in your work life, professionally and socially, where you're like, this is it for me until I die. Of course, you're going to naturally start thinking about the ways that you might die, It happens only a couple times. So, I mean, the title might not fit entirely. They might just have to call it Fran or something like that. We'll see, though, how if it ends up getting bastardized. I don't know. But it's gonna be really hard for me to recommend it when it does come out. That's what I'm trying to say, because I don't know that it's going to be for everybody, and everybody might take something different away from it. It's really tough to. I don't know. I still kind of have to sit with it as well.
Sure.
So I mean, hey, it is something new that I saw, and it's kind of like an exclusive a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And I do have way more Sundance movies to see. I'll probably just have to pick a favorite for next week for sure. So yeah, moving on to something old that we saw. Want to hit me with your old?
Yeah,
it could be a rewatch too. It doesn't matter.
I just watched it in the last couple days, and I hadn't seen it in years. Death to Smoochy. A Danny DeVito joint.
I don't think I've ever seen this movie.
It is fantastic. I don't think it's fantastic.
I have, because I worked at Blockbuster.
Like, if you just pull, I don't know how much you know about this movie. If you just pull up the IMDb right now, like, I would love to watch your reaction in your eyeballs. You're like, wow, like literally everybody's in this movie. But like, it is a fun dark comedy, and it is a dark comedy. And so, like, imagine the idea is that, like,
I didn't realize DeVito. When you said DeVito, I thought you meant he was in it. And
he directed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know he directed it. Wow.
Okay, so the idea is like, think like the Wiggles. You know what I mean? Like, Robin Williams plays like a solo like Wiggles actor, or whatever. All right.
Right.
But he gets supplanted by a new Barney-like character who's played by Edward Norton. Yeah. And Edward Norton's kind of a, you don't know if he's quite fake about it, but like he's like trying to be the good guy, you know what I mean? Whereas like Robin Williams' character, it's very like that Jim Carrey show that was kind of like ripping off of
Kidding?
Yeah, Kidding, thank you. Yeah, off of
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, thank you. Yeah. Where it's like, like he's like a nice wholesome guy like on the screen. He's, Mr. Robert Rainbows or whatever his name is. And but like off screen he's like a degenerate drug using like piece of shit, like just like it, so like this juxtaposition of like Robin Williams feeling like he's been supplanted by like this newcomer like Ed Norton and like their rival or whatever. It's zany, it's weird. The comedy is so like up my alley. Again, it is like a very dark comedy because it's dealing with a lot of like crime bosses and like just it has a lot to say about the entertainment industry and like what does it mean to sell out? What does it mean to stick to your morals? Do you have morals at a certain point and when you reach a certain level of stardom and stuff like that? And there's a great scene where like, and it's an old enough movie I can quote unquote spoil it or go.
It came out in 2002, man. Yeah, you're good.
So like Robin Williams like fake calls Ed Norton as like, hey, can you do me a favor? I run this charity. We got to do this. We got to do that. It'll be standing for this. I think it'll be a real big boost to like how the community sees you and stuff like that. And Robin Williams like kind of takes him there like in makeup and drops him off at this place, and it's a Nazi rally. So now
I've totally seen that scene. Yeah.
So now like it's all over the news that like Smoochy is like pro-Nazi and stuff like that, and his career's ended. So it's like it gets flipped where like now he's kind of the crazy person who's trying to get revenge on Robin Williams, and like the whole movie is just this back and forth of them.
I gotta watch
these two crazy people.
I'm pretty sure I have seen it before, but I told you about when I worked at Blockbuster and we played the Robin Williams stand-up.
Yep.
Like when we were closing and stuff, we just had it on repeat, especially during inventory time, which about inventory at GameStop.
Sure, yeah.
That can go till like 4 a.m. or whatever.
It can.
So we would just have Robin Williams like in the background, and this was one of the things that Robin Williams was a part of that my manager would put on sometimes. After that manager went away, we stopped doing that, unfortunately. But so this was definitely something in the background, but I had, I was still on the clock.
It's a good watch, and like it held up. I was surprised by like, oh, this all still is pretty relevant to everything. And I think it was a slept-on movie. I don't think a lot of people saw it.
It was considered a bomb, and it even got like Razzies, which I hate those awards so much. But
that's weird because
didn't really review well. But I would say that the retrospective, am I using the right word? I think the way that people look at it now, I should say, is more fondly.
I like to use a negative term called revisionist history, but
yeah.
But no, people do come around on stuff where things like just hit different years later and stuff like that. So it's totally real.
I think the biggest example is 2001, where critics were like, "I don't know what the hell
Blade
this
Runner."
Is. It's
Blade Runner was like, "This is the biggest piece of shit in the entire world." And all these years later, we're like, "We're making a sequel to the greatest sci-fi movie ever made."
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, things come around, you know.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, man. It's Robin Williams dialed up to 11, but like specifically rated R Robin Williams. So it's not like him doing like genie stuff, you know.
No, yeah, it's some of the most fun Robin Williams roles are those roles. Yeah.
It's so over the top and crazy. And Ed Norton, like you just like there's something about me like I just don't trust this guy, like you know that like the character in the movie or whatever. But also like he's your protagonist, you know.
You could argue that that's the Smoochy character is basically the same character as his Birdman character.
yeah, absolutely. Actually, yeah, like plays with similar characters.
He's like such an asshole by the time that movie picks up, but he's like,
I love that movie. That's another movie I haven't gone back and watched. Yeah. Anyways, really fun watch. If it'd be super interesting if you did go back and check it out. It's not easy. I try to catch it on streaming. I ended up having to watch it on YouTube with like ads, which was who does that, you know?
Brutal.
Just download it at that point legally.
Totally legally, obviously. Legally. With permission from the studio and the Williams estate and Edward Norton.
Right. Just get it in writing. You know?
And Mr. DeVito, hey, or whatever, however he talks.
And he directed a funny movie, you know. So and he's great in it. He's in it too, you know. So it's everybody's in it. Jon Stewart's in it, you know. It's just like it's insane.
Right, Jon Stewart when he acted. I forgot about that.
Yeah. There was a time.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'm glad he found where he succeeds, though. It's not that he was a bad actor or anything, but clearly he's good at one thing.
Yeah.
So the old movie I watched is from that long ago year of 2020. That year like in movies, ago, dude. That year in movies came and went, and nobody talks about the movies that came out that year. Like, can you think about a movie that came out that year that anybody still talks about? It's kind of crazy.
No one that talks about. No.
It's kind of crazy because there are tons of great movies that came out that year. One of the ones I rewatched on Hulu was Palm Springs.
I love that movie.
Yeah, dude, that movie is so good.
Yeah, top 10 movie for me. Yeah, that year.
Oh, for sure. That year, I think it was like 6 or 7 or something like that.
It was up there for me too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I think this time I set out a goal for myself of never touching my phone when I was watching it because I do struggle with that. Even with new movies that I'm watching, like when I watched that Sundance movie earlier, I was kind of texting in between the slower moments and stuff. But this time I was like, no, we are watching this movie. And I caught new stuff. I caught new like certain jokes that played the first few times that I saw it. Because this is like my 4th time seeing it. But it's just the last few times was just kind of like noise because it was pandemic noise, basically. It was distracting me from anything else that was going on.
Whereas existential dread. Noise from a movie.
Exactly. Whereas this time I was like, that dread isn't really there as much anymore, so let's be on the movie's level. Yeah. I just enjoyed the hell out of it even more this time. It's kind of crazy. I already rated it pretty highly on Letterboxd, like 4.5 out of 5 or whatever. Just because I think the ending's a little too pretty. Like it's a little
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little clean. You know?
And it's a little too nonsensical as well. But the movie lives off of the chemistry between Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. Like they're so effing good together.
Yeah.
And she is like, obviously we knew he's funny. Like we've seen Pop Star, we've seen the Lonely Island stuff. We know that. But her being able to keep up with him and sometimes even get more laughs than him.
He's like in many ways like a modern day like Adam Sandler, like that kind of reverie, you know, in the comedy scene. So it's like, she's stepping into his world in many ways, even though she's very funny and mostly.
And we already knew that from How I Met Your Mother that she had charisma, but like she is next level funny in the movie because she has to keep up with a certain style of comedy that she hadn't had to do before.
Yeah, Lonely Island's very particular.
She does it. She's so good in the movie. And I caught the first couple times I watched it, for some reason I totally ignored the grandma. I was like, oh, that's weird. You just kind of brush it off. But then there's a couple times like I paid attention more this time, and I caught. She only has 2 lines. It's played by June Squibb, who was in Nebraska. I think that was like her most famous role. But like she only has a couple lines, but they're pretty important lines, and she's kind of like alluding to the fact that she's kind of in the loop too, and I found that to be really interesting. The third or fourth time I watched, like, it's like interesting that I'm picking this up now finally. I'm like, oh, and actually there's a theory online that she is this is kind of spoilery, but it's not. It's a theory, so it's not really true. There was a theory online that she is an old version of Kristen Miliotti's character, but it would not make sense if that were true. Like,
sure.
Like, there's only a certain, like, yes, the movie doesn't make sense in parts.
Yeah.
But that's even...
That's really taking it to the next level.
Yeah, that's the next level ludicrous for the movie that you're watching. So it's easier to view it as she's in the loop too, but she's content being in the loop because she doesn't have that much time left. Maybe you can view it that way. And hell, maybe that'll give her own Palm Springs spinoff where it's her in the time loop enjoying her life.
Ooh, yeah, Granny in the
loop.
Making
that choice to be in the loop, you know? That'd be really fun if they made a movie like that. I do feel like there are kind of like, I don't know. There's definitely a recipe there for sequelizing it if they wanted to, and I'd be on board with that. But yeah, the humor just works so well for me. Like, even from the opening where Andy Samberg is waking up for the first time, and his girlfriend's there, and he's trying to have sex with her, but she walks away, and she's like, "You can just finish. You can finish, right? You can finish yourself." And he's like trying to jerk it or whatever. And the whole time she's looking for her phone and she's just going, shit. And he's just, she's just repeatedly saying shit. And he's like, how am I supposed to, now I can't stop picturing shit. How am I supposed to do this? It's such a great opening scene. It really sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And then I love the parts that he has where he gets to like break up with his girlfriend, and he's like repeating at what she's saying at her, like tonally to the like syllable. Just every response she has, he's repeating because he's been through it several times. It's so funny, dude. It's just one of the best time loop movies there is. It really is. Like, I mean, it's in good company with Edge of Tomorrow and Groundhog Day for sure.
Predestination. I guess it's not a loop, but. The time travel movie, I guess it came.
Yeah, it's more like a circle, I guess.
Yeah, more like time's like a circle in that movie.
Flat circle, yeah, it's a flat circle.
Yeah.
I can't recommend it enough. Anybody that hasn't seen it, and I'm sorry
if you like the Groundhog Day formula, and like maybe you're hot, if you're hot off of something of that nature and wanted more of it, that's a wonderful, if not one of the better stops on that list.
Yeah, definitely. There's also a scene too where oh my gosh. It happens in the bar. I think it's near the end where like she leaves and he's in a tailspin. He's like, what do I do without her? And he goes back to the bar that he's been going to the whole movie, and he just starts like throwing beers around, and then he does like a shitty dance and gives him the finger and leaves. You're like, what the hell was that? There's like so many one-off jokes that make no sense. It's just my type of comedy, dude. It's so perfect. Yeah. And J.K. Simmons is a perfect addition. Like, he's like a perfect foil for Andy Samberg. Like,
they
play off each other so well. And then their whole montage of partying together that first time was just brilliant. Like,
very funny.
They talk about chemistry. They have chemistry. Really good chemistry as well. J.K. Simmons just seems like a fun guy to work with. I'm not sure that I'd want to be friends with him or nothing. He seems like he keeps to himself, but he seems like a fun guy to work with as an actor. Like, he seems like he would just be willing to go there to whatever the comedic scene is. But yeah, highly enjoyable movie. It's a 90-minute watch to the number.
Brisk. Yeah.
As soon as you start it says 90 minutes and counts down. It's like, this is perfect. No other movie should be longer than this. Like, if your movie's longer than 90 minutes, you messed up. That's what I'm trying to say.
Let's get back to that. Let's get back to exactly. Let's get back to Blade Runner 2049 cuts being 90 minutes. You know, I want to see that cut.
Yeah, I mean, part 1 and part 2. That's fine. Once he arrives in Vegas, that's where it stops.
Where it cuts off. It's a hard stop. Yeah, it's like, it's just jarring. You're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, Harrison Ford shows up.
Kind of ends like Dune did, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Which it did just, you're like, whoa.
And she did do the whole sequel bait. This is just the beginning. And it's,
yeah.
You really had
I love that movie.
I love that movie
so much. Talk about a movie that's just like, ooh, that left me wanting more.
Yeah, no.
And I don't, maybe not in a healthy way either.
Yeah. Oh man, it's much like the worst kind of sequel bait. Damn it, I had it on the tip of my tongue and I forgot it. We'll just move on. Anyway, we're going to go to pick 5 now. Pick 5 misunderstood gems. That's how I like to phrase it. Actually, before... No, I'll do it after. I'll do the box office after. Yes, we're going to do misunderstood gems. And how I viewed it was, yes, there are some crossover as far as underrated and underappreciated, underseen movies go. There's like at least a couple crossovers. But for the most part, it's... for me at least, it's like things I've seen on Twitter that I vehemently disagree with, or podcasters that I'm like, where did you get that take from? Did we watch the same movie? Like,
sure. Yeah.
So yeah, hit me with one of yours.
I want to get the obvious one out of the way first, just because it's something you and I talked about too many times. I know it's something you left off your list because you probably knew I was going to put it on mine. Last Jedi. You guys are wrong about it. What's your number 5, Jeff? No, don't elaborate a little bit. I swear to God,
there are like professional critics that I have watched that are they're only a handful, like a small handful, because critically it's pretty beloved. If we can, say that.
It is, yeah.
But there are a handful of critics that I follow that I like, and one of them is like quoting Kylo Ren as if that's the truth of the movie, and I'm like, no, you're quoting the villain. Like, he's the villain. He's saying
you're not supposed to take his advice.
He's saying kill the past or whatever. And that's not the truth of the movie. That's not the message of the movie. It's not kill the past. It's kind of a bit of both, really. But you have to look further than quoting the villain to look at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're taking lessons from the bad guy. You know, like, which it's not really how like Arthurian type of movie template movies like this like go. Like you're on the good guy journey here. You know, like, that's the whole point. But you know. I mean, there's obviously a lot of things that people thought about this movie in terms of, Luke's arc and stuff like that, which is just wrong about. Like, that's a real arc. Like, someone, like, on a search for power, getting power, and then just wanting more and more power and more power. That's a villain's arc.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
At some point, you have to, especially when you're talking about the teachings of the Jedi and stuff like that, being a pacifist, peacekeeping tribe of cultists or whatever, like that's the message of the movie is that, by the end of it, when he, spoiler alert, dies at the end, he gives himself away to the Force, putting up a fight in a pacifist way. He wasn't even there. You know what I mean? He astral projected there and used symbolism, he used himself as a symbol to martyr himself, to ignite the spark of the rebellion in this new galaxy. And like, I think that people look at that and go, well, he was grumpy when we saw him. He threw the lightsaber when we saw him, yada, yada, or whatever. These are, if you want to talk about a George Lucas quote about, everything, it rhymes. It's, it's a poem. It rhymes and stuff like that. That we're still doing that, like you're talking about watching Obi-Wan not be able to fulfill his destiny, and he goes into hiding, and so does Yoda, so does every Jedi that we meet along this entire journey.
Luke is literally Yoda in the movie, and people
he is Yoda. He's Yoda and Obi-Wan kind of mashed up together.
Yoda was a crazy old man, like old,
he was goofy, and I think he kind of took those teachings from Yoda to kind of like because he was very goofy, like when he's like tickling her with like that's the Force, it's by the way, comedy is really funny in this movie. I think the comedy.
I agree. Rian Johnson humor always tickles me quite thoroughly, I guess. People take the wrong message about the Canto Bite thing. The movie stopped to tell you, hey, like everyone's profiting off of these wars, and like this is what that looks like. Hey, that's happening in your world that you're living in right now. So sorry it took a stop in like real message territory, but we went there, and then people losing the thread of why the Finn storyline is so necessary for the theme of the movie. Like the movie is about grace in the face of failure, right? And how to take lessons from that.
And so, and to the rebellion, that was their last chance. Whatever
fail epically for them
exactly. And whatever Finn that mission that Finn is on, that is in the face of the rebellion or the resistance, that is their last chance. So watching the last chance fail, like that's supposed to be the final thread on the coffin of just like, and they double down when no one shows up when they put out that, SOS call or whatever. And then the whole idea of flipping that on its head by like reversing it into a theme of hope or whatever with Luke and everything. Like there's a lot going on in that movie, and I think people were just like, oh, I didn't see Luke destroying Star Destroyers with the Force. It's like, dude, you were never gonna get that.
Or it
was never gonna happen.
Like something I hear a lot in real life with people I talk to in person is still Leia doing the whole floating through space thing. They cling to that, or they cling to the guy on the salt planet wiping the ground and going salt. And I'm like, why is that your one hang up with this? It's almost like you don't have anything real to say about this movie.
The thing with the Leia thing is that like that's happened to like 17 other Jedi in all of the cartoons. And that's a made-up number. It's like 3 Jedi, but like it's happened 3 times.
The fact
literally
that it's happened before
in Star Wars, multiple times. Yeah, where it's just like, how are they surviving in space? You're like, it doesn't matter. It's fantasy, and that's what you're watching, by the way. It's fantasy. It's not sci-fi.
It's fantasy, yeah.
It's about magic and swords, guys. It's fantasy.
When people start throwing laws of physics at you about Star Wars, I'm like, I can't have.
Okay, well, describe me what a proton torpedo is, there, dork. Yeah. It's a made-up thing. It's made up.
How does that work? Can you tell me the elements of a kyber crystal? Can you tell me?
Yeah, right, exactly. Where on the periodic table does the kyber crystal exist? You know, like, shut up. You're a dork. And then you're talking to the big Star Wars fan, so it's like, you're a dork.
I think
go watch Doctor Who, where they really explain everything in dumb ways. How about that?
They kind of do. But dumb ways that make you feel smart. That's the difference, kind of.
These said timely-wimely, and I get that, you know?
It's kind of funny that this is our second episode, yet it's, you got to keep this up with the Star Wars shirts, because I think the first episode you wore a Star Wars shirt as well.
So the thing is for current gen, I try and wear video game shirts, and so I wanted to wear all movie shirts. I mean, I only have Star Wars shirts, but I don't have, like, Scarface shirts or whatever, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm gonna run out of Star Wars shirts at some point.
You're making me realize I got to buy more movie shirts. I don't have any.
I'm gonna buy more. Yeah, I have some sitting in my Amazon.
Is this solid colored? Nailed it. Like I'm just
got it. Yeah, just don't have stain on it, right?
Exactly. So the movie I picked, I'll just get it out of the way because it might be one of yours too. This was number 1 on my underrated, underappreciated list. It's Only God Forgives.
That is on mine as well.
Yeah, nice. So I don't remember if this was your number 1 as well when we recorded that episode years ago.
It was up. I thought it was up there because we really nailed home on the idea that like everybody at Cannes like booed. Classically, it's the most infamous story from Cannes. Like people like booed like in a vicious way during the ending of this movie. The boo heard around the world, if you will.
That's it. French people are dicks. That's what it is.
No, you and I have gone on record, maybe not on this podcast, maybe so, when we talked about, I think we talked a little bit about his Nicholas Winding Refn's most recent show. But, like, you either like this guy or you don't like this guy. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just, like, you're not, like, this is not a show you can just pitch to anybody. Hey, you like movies? Well, you should watch Only God Forgives. You know, like, no, like, it's a very particular type of movie for a very particular type of people. I don't know what kind of people that is. Apparently, I'm one of them. Because the weirdness, the slow pacing, the lingering of all the shots and everything like that. I mean, like, that's the stuff that he's still doing that really stands out to me about that movie. I know what it made you think about putting it on this list all these years later. Have you watched it since then?
I still feel people are, I guess this is more overlooked than misunderstood, but people are overlooking to the point that they're not even going to try to understand it. And I feel like there's a lot of work that you could do. I mean, there's video essays about every movie out there imaginable, but there are plenty about this one, about the allegorical nature of the story and how it relates to religion and stuff. Because the guy who's like the main antagonist kind of views himself as an angel, right? Like an angel of death.
Yeah.
So like there's a whole allegory thing going on in the movie that people just don't want to bother to look into because it's too slow, not enough happens.
Well, there's a lot of mythological stories going on because there's like an Oedipus story going on because of him and his mother and everything. Yeah. Like it's like there's a lot of mythological kind of storytelling going on here, or at least you're taking themes from that.
I'm with you on Refn though. Like it's kind of like he's either your cup of tea or he's not. And sure,
which I get it, man. Like I get it. People like, dude, I need his stuff
that, but like But like his movies that tend to be, or his shows as well, tend to be just more like visual paintings, and you kind of have to be patient and admire
he's
the
king
the
of
art
letting
in
a
front
scene
of you.
breathe. You know, like he's got the opposite, if you want to call it, problem that Michael Bay has. You know, where he's like, we got to cut this scene up. He's like, no, we got to let the scene go for 20 minutes. Right. It's just like it's like a girl with short hair sitting in a room with neons behind her. It's slowly zooming in. 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
No talking at all.
Just
you know?
a badass soundtrack.
Yeah, a really cool soundtrack that's like, Kojima standing off in the distance for some reason, you know,
They actually, I saw something in here that apparently Drive was shot this way too. They filmed it chronologically mostly, and they edited scenes on the day they were shot, which is kind of crazy. I don't think a lot of people do that. in real time. Like, I mean, that's as close as real time as you can get. Normally, you film it all and then you go edit. But instead, he's like, all right, we filmed today's, let's edit that. And wow, that's kind of ballsy, actually.
That's pretty weird, yeah.
But yeah, I love that Gosling, like, I mean, I love that Gosling took this role at all. I feel like he wouldn't at this point in his career.
Yeah. They got him at the
like
right
a bigger swing
this.
than Drive for sure.
Well, Drive is like, it's Nicholas Winding Refn light. Like everything that he does in all of his other movies, he's like, I kind of did that in Drive. And like Drive is still a lot for people. Even when I first saw Drive, I'm like, why are these characters staring at each other before they explain something? Like even like because like you're not initiated yet to like what's going on. You splash in some neons and some cool techno or whatever. Right. You know, it really bought me in. But like even in Drive, there was something kind of off-putting or weird.
With Drive, Refn actually removed dialogue from this because it wasn't his script, so he removed dialogue to make it more still during those type of scenes. So if you're wondering why aren't they talking, it's like, well, they probably should have been talking in the script, but he removed the words.
Well, and that's his minimalist way of storytelling. He's just that's the way that he does it. Everything is right there on the screen, and usually the character is wearing the face of whatever they're feeling. You know what I mean? Like there's you know what's going on in every scene without like there having to be any talking. Even in Only God Forgives, which a lot of people would claim that's kind of obtuse and you know, not direct or whatever, which they might be right in some ways, but there is a path.
Some of the misunderstanding comes from that too, because they're just not even bothering to try to understand. They're just like, slow and boring.
Yeah. Okay, next. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's only one fight scene in the whole movie. You know, shut up, God.
And I know he's a boxer.
It's not an action movie.
But like, yeah, exactly. It was never really pitched as one. I don't think it was.
So what's cool kind of dive into like triads and stuff like that too. You know.
I totally agree. I love that's his first real dive into like a criminal underworld that feels. He's a little more tangible,
very still
inaccessible. Because I think he did a Danish series called Pusher, and it was like a trilogy. Mm-hmm. And I think that was just criminal underworld in Denmark or whatever. Like it was just that. That's all it was about. But I didn't watch any of those because that was before Drive, so I didn't see him. I watched Valhalla Rising with Mads, but I didn't. You know.
Yeah, I saw that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was okay.
Yeah, he hadn't hit prime record.
Not a lot of style. Like there's some style in that movie, but not the one that we're used to now. You know?
Yeah, exactly. What's another one of yours?
I think another obvious one for you and me. It might be on yours. I don't really know. Matrix Resurrections.
Oh, thank God. Yes, it's one of mine. Yes, absolutely.
Let's just get it out of the way then.
Yeah, I love that we have so many in common.
You guys, you're wrong about this one.
Definitely.
You know, again, this is another one where if you show up to this movie and you're expecting a certain type of movie, I can see how a person comes out the other side going, well, that's not what I wanted at all. And that's a totally fair take. However, if you just settle in and just kind of let the movie wash over you or whatever, there is a lot going on in this movie in terms of just conversation about like sequel and reboot culture and just like the fascination with this wringing out nostalgia until it's completely dead and nothing to anybody, you know. Maybe a little too on the nose for some people, but I don't know how else you're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think Lana really had a message she wanted to send to everybody. Message received, you know. And there's still some cool like world building for it being a sequel in this movie too. If you stop to think of it as like a weird, you know, Matrix real world movie. There's just a lot going on there post-war and stuff like that after the third movie.
Well, because it had been so many years had passed in real world.
Like 70 something? Yeah. It was
so like
it was a while,
being an old lady and stuff like that, and what happened
to and totally believable old lady makeup. Totally believable.
I actually didn't have a problem with it as much as
everybody had a problem with that for whatever reason, but she looked like she was in makeup to me. You know, I wouldn't call it bad or good, you know, just like I was like, she's an old person makeup.
It's like y'all watch Back to the Future and you're cool with the Biff makeup, right? I'm just making sure. I know it's the 80s or whatever, but I'm just saying the makeup looks a little similar and it plays just as well to me. I'm totally with you on all the messages that it iterates. Sure, it might be on the nose in some of the dialogue about like reboot culture and stuff like that, and how hollow like ideas are that come out of these people's mouths. Like they're just regurgitating things people have already done before.
Buzzwords and cool guy talk and all that stuff. You know, so it's just,
almost like they put some of their brainstorming sessions from the writers' room into the movie to be like to tell the audience we're not doing that in this movie.
Yeah,
you know, we're doing something totally different. And I mean, I loved what they put into it. So
I did too. I remember like some stuff either got leaked for you or you looked into it a little bit before the movie came out and you're like, this is a big swing movie, man. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but we're gonna find out, I guess, you know. And it was a very big swing. You know, it would have been easy to just make it another Hong Kong action flick. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been easy to do that. And I don't think people would have liked that either way. You know, like, I think that, like, people would have been like, well, that was just pretty samey. It just kind of felt, exactly. It felt copy and paste. It felt uninspired, yada, yada, or whatever. But instead, she took this really big swing, and, like, it was not the movie anybody on earth thought it was going to be. And that's pretty brilliant, because when you watch the trailers, like, you think you're signing up for a movie where the intriguing part is like, why is Neo back and yada yada, and like it just looks like a Matrix sequel or whatever, but really it ends up being kind of like a half satirical, half, you know, like sequel type of like experience. And I've never seen anything like it. I think it was a totally unique experience. And to all the people who still to this day like look back at it, I made like my top 10 list and that was my #1 movie of the year. Everyone can suck it. People were like, really, your #1? I could never take your advice for like movies ever again. I'm like, good. Please. I super don't care. You never comment on my threads again. Yes. I'm super happy that I have you around. You know, if me liking a movie ruins your day so bad.
It was definitely in my 10 as well, but that was like a pretty good. It was pretty.
It was a big year. I chose it over Dune, and a lot of it's like there's some big fuck you energy going on with me putting.
For sure. That definitely weighed into me putting it as high as I did, for sure, as well. Dune I had higher.
Dune is just a better
Titane movie. I had higher, which is that French movie about a girl who fucks a car. Yep. I love that movie so much. Riders of Justice is higher. I
love that movie. Yeah.
Judas and the Black Messiah is higher. I like that movie too. That movie is very Scorsese. I love it. But yeah, I did have it in my 10 because it was just like. I mean, to me, it was undeniable because in the fact that people were so like adamantly already against it within the first 24 hours of seeing it on HBO Max, just broke my heart all over again, just like the other sequels. I was like, damn, I'm gonna be like one of the only ones defending this movie now.
It was like this. It was this weird thing where it's like suddenly this movie came out and all of a sudden it's like, well, I wish it was more like the sequels. I'm like, the movie y'all all bitched about for the last 20 years, like those movies. Like, I've never met anybody who's like those movies except for you, which is why we started a podcast. You know?
Pick a lane. Jeez.
Yeah, like it's just like people are just so all over. It's the same thing with like Star Wars, where it's like, well, I just wish they were more like the prequels. I'm like, you mean the movies everyone crapped? Like, what are you talking about?
I know this whole
suddenly we all love the prequels. You know, like they're way better than the sequels.
That's more definitively revisionist history right there.
Yes, that's a really good example of it. Yeah,
it's like, no, dude, I was there for all of that prequel talk.
Dude, man. I was there, man. You know, I was a kid, and maybe other kids enjoyed it. Like I had peers that were enjoying it, but dude, I remember just people 2 or 3 years older than me being like, "This is the biggest piece of shit in the entire world." Like, I remember, I lived it.
I remember that. And now, when I hear the phrase, I think we should really think about how we assess the prequels. I'm like, you are such a pretender. You hated them too, like everybody else did.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway,
I want George back. I'm like, you bullied him. You bullied him out of the franchise, guys. I was there.
The old movie I wanted to pick. This is from 1960s. I don't remember the exact year, but A Clockwork Orange is what I went with.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There's actually like
the OG misunderstood flick.
I feel like it is. I feel like there are some takes that I've heard on podcasts and stuff that were kind of like, I don't think you watched the movie, or maybe just the message that it was trying to convey was just buried too deep behind all the violent images and stuff, and you weren't willing to look past that. Which I can kind of get that. There's some traumatizing scenes in there, especially for a 60s movie. But there are some people that are just like, it's just violent and you know, like there's just sexual assault just for the glorification of it. And I'm like, I don't think you're understanding. This is literally misunderstanding to me.
No, it literally is. Because I feel the message is pretty obvious, you know. Not that like he doesn't like, you know, nuance his way through that movie or whatever, but like you are definitely taking the wrong message. You come up the other side being like, oh, that was just gratuitous for the sake of it. I'm like, dude, wow, that was right over your head. Like you
exactly. I feel like the movie was the tone of the movie, I think, confuses people in the beginning because it's like the movie is celebrating Alex's crimes. Mm-hmm. And his numerous sexual assaults and his threesomes and his murders, But really, it's Alex celebrating it, and we're in his world. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like the music is mirroring how he feels about what he's doing. And I don't think it's Kubrick trying to tell you should feel great about what he's doing right here. I don't think it. In fact, I think he wants us to be repulsed by how he's conveying the violence. And
Sure.
So when the shoe does drop and he is forced into having his free will Sasso removed.
Or free will Sasso. Free will Sasso.
So when he's having his free will removed from all those exercises, that you're supposed to like almost forget that shit happened, all the bad shit he did and then you start to pity the guy. Like he goes back home and his stepdad is just a dick to him, or I guess it's just his mom's boyfriend or whatever, just a complete dick to him, and he can't even stand up for himself to the guy.
Yeah,
he can't be like, exactly. Can you please cut me some slack, because he gets nauseous and repelled by the idea of it. Like, so really it's more of a conversation about free will than anything else, and the movie does want you to feel grossed out by everything that happens in the first part.
Well, there's a whiplash
effect. You feel grossed out, by what happens to him in the second part. Like,
yeah.
You know, it's not black and white. And people that want to view movies through like a black and white lens.
No, I mean movies that were created to create like a nuanced and layered discussion or point or idea of a specific subject or exploration of an idea, you know, and it's just leave some room to think about it, guys. You know, like there's always some wiggle room there to bring in your own interpretation.
They just see something like the visuals as something that, I mean, it is disgusting. Like, you're irrefutably, if you have a set of morals, you're going to be repulsed by what you see. But like, you have to.
That's the ride that you're on, though, because when you do feel sorry for him by the end of that movie, like you start going like, "Oh, I'm feeling sorry for this like maniac," you know, like you're, again another layer of feeling gross. Like, exactly, you know, another layer of you questioning your morality and stuff like that, and like, dude, he just took you on an emotionally manipulative ride, you know, and like that's what you're here for, baby. Right. You're here to watch a movie, and that's a prime example of going on a ride. But some people are, I guess, resistant to the ride in that movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is so repulsive.
It feels like, for some people at least. But the people that did voice it, even though it was like a handful of people on like podcasts I listened to, they were very like adamant about their stance to the point where I was like, I don't even think you stopped to ask yourself why you were seeing the movie, because you have to ask yourself why to get to the root of what the movie's trying to tell you. Anyway, that's my old one. Hit me with another one of yours.
My oldest one, to keep with the theme that you started here, and it's not very old. This was on my underrated gems list that we keep on referring back to. It's Last Samurai.
Very misunderstood.
Very misunderstood movie.
Yeah, the white savior who saved nobody.
It's a pretty easy to just go, are you talking about that Tom Cruise movie where he saves Japan, you know, or whatever? And it's like, yeah. I mean, that's the movie I'm talking about, but no, that's not what that movie's about, you know. But it's super easy to, when you're watching the trailers for that movie or looking back on, or maybe you've never heard of it and you see it in your local video store, which totally still exists, and you see that cover and it's Tom Cruise standing like with samurai armor, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Especially with the title right underneath and it says The Last Samurai.
Like, you're like, get out of here with that, you know. And there is an immediate barrier there for a lot of people, and then when people end up watching it, I mean, it's a well shot movie, and Hans Zimmer kind of knocks out the score or whatever. But like people watch that and like still take away the wrong message at the end of it, because like the real movie is about like Katsumoto, the guy that they're trying to like disassemble, you know, so like Western civilization can like thrive in Japan or whatever. And so like, you know, and you are getting to witness this story through the vessel, which is Tom Cruise, you know, which being able to take it. And I think there's some really interesting ideas of like taking him from a time in America where we were dealing with our own quote unquote misunderstood savages or whatever. And I use that term in parallel to like how the Japanese looked at the samurai when they were trying to westernize like all these savages. But really, you're talking about two misunderstood cultures on two different sides of the world who are both misunderstood in similar ways, because they're both really complex, really nurturing cultures, you know, that got painted as villains and everything like that. And the movie explores that, you know.
The movie, like Tom Cruise specifically, his character starting out is and I know people kind of tire of the white guilt stories, but he's drinking himself to death because he hates what he's being asked to do by his military. Like, this is not the way that he wanted to serve his country, by just mutilating, slaughtering like
horrible
communities of people that live there first. Like, it's not the way he wanted to do it. So I know people are tired of the white guilt thing, but I mean, it is.
And the parallels
it should be explored into some
extent. And the parallels
extent,
between the Native Americans and the samurai are like, and the movie explores these parallels very deeply, I would even say, in a way that most people don't show up to appreciate, because they're just like, oh, Tom Cruise, am I right? They can't literally get beyond that,
It's the Dances with Wolves effect too.
But like just like
it's a white savior, and you're like,
oh yeah, and that's the other thing.
Everybody dies at the end of that movie. What are you talking about?
It's the same template. I'm so tired of that template or whatever. Oh, a white guy goes to live with Native people and he falls in love with them or whatever. That's the format. That's the blueprint of like the core story. Yeah. But there's a lot of other stuff going on in there. And again, like just like the Native Americans, their world where like a light switch got turned, like, oh, we showed up and we just changed everything, It's the same thing for the samurai, like a light switch, Western civilization just kind of took over. Or the idea, the philosophies of Western civilization that the government was trying to impose, it changed everything like a light switch to them. And so like all these parallels that the movie draws are really deep and really interesting. And outside of that, really great camera work, really great choreography when all the action picks up and stuff like that. Cinematically, just a wonderful movie. Great score, like we were talking about. And like you just need to like, I'm almost wondering if any other person was hired for that movie besides, it could have been another white guy, but because it was Tom Cruise,
right?
Like I wonder if like that was like the issue where like Tom Cruise, I mean, we're still in kind of like Tom Cruise's world where he's like the biggest actor in the entire world or whatever, biggest blockbuster actor.
I mean, there are some people that are like really mad that he didn't get nominated for Top Gun, and he's great in Top Gun Maverick.
He's great, but not
especially in that scene with Val Kilmer and stuff. But like,
yeah, that scene is pretty good.
But like, guys, we already know he's great. Look at the box office numbers. We're good.
Yeah. Also, people have been in some real performances this year too that are like, like he was in a goofy movie about the Air Force, or the Navy. Like I think we can chill out a little bit on that. But he is great in that movie though, and he's great, guys. He's great. That's why he's been around for so long. Yeah, he believes in some crazy science, Scientology mumbo jumbo, but like he's a good actor, Yeah. And there's a charisma towards him.
I think that's definitely why he ramped up his stunts, his performing his own stunts, is because people just started associating him more and more with the crazy side of Scientology, which does exist because it is very culty and their beliefs are freaking nonsense. So he's like, all right, well, to distract him from this institution that I am so deeply a part of,
I'm never going to be a part of it.
I'll just jump off a cliff real quick, like I'll just.
I think it's a great pivot, I think it's a great pivot because that's what we talk about now. It's like I heard he broke his arm on that motorcycle stunt,
Like, I heard he's going to space next month.
He's 60 and going to space, just stuff like that.
He really doesn't want us to talk about Xenu or something. Like, it's crazy.
Right. Which is kind of working, so good for him.
I'm with you on Last Samurai. It was in my list too when we did that on our podcast years ago. It was in my list on the underrated for sure. It's a great movie.
Great flick.
And okay, so now we're back to modern world, I guess. My next one is going to be 2017's It Comes at Night. Boy, did people misunderstand the shit out of this movie.
Boy.
What a ride. I don't think we saw this together, right? You weren't.
No. You saw it first, and you were like, "You have got to see this movie." And I'm like, okay. Yeah, and like it was one of those ones where I watched it, and I was like, "Dude, that movie."
Yes. And I think
I can't believe it came at night, right?
I still see on Reddit occasionally because I still, I guess I'm a sadist or whatever. I still like to look at Reddit and see what the comments are saying. And there are some people that will answer a thread where the question is, what is the worst marketed movie ever, whatever. And one of the top comments will always be It Comes at Night. And I'm like, guys, the marketing was a part of the theme of the movie.
Yeah, you started watching that movie the moment the marketing stared.
Right.
Very Kojima in that way, where it's like you were on a ride before the movie even started,
Right.
The ride being that they even shoot the trailer like there's this thing and it's gonna come at night and it's not good for people. Like it's kind of like it's a monster movie or something like that, And
they did frame it that way, yes, in the trailers, but.
And I don't know if we want to spoil. I don't know how much we want to spoil or whatever, but
I think thematically we can just say that we're not going to say what the monster is or if it exists or whatever, but like the movie leads you that way too. The trailers,
the
same route of the trailers, where the trailers were like It's a monster movie. Trust me. The movie is telling you this is a monster movie. Trust me. But then really the focus of the movie ends up being paranoia and how it impacts people in a pandemic and stuff.
You are paranoid too, like because you're paranoid about the thing coming at night, and this movie teeing up this thing to come at night. So it's like, is this the moment the thing comes at? And it's like, that is not the forefront of what that movie's about. There's other things going on in that movie that, like, because of that manufactured paranoia that starts with the thing coming at night, it seeps into all the other facets of this movie where suddenly you don't trust anybody in this movie. You don't trust anything that's going on. You don't trust the rules.
I'm pretty sure the family even started turning on each other, right? Not violently, but like they were just kind of like,
they don't trust each other.
From me,
you know what I mean? It's like there starts to be this discourse in the house because again, it's like everyone's trying to survive this like post-apocalypse or whatever, where maybe some kind of disease happened that kills people pretty good. Like,
I took it as like just a pandemic kind of. So in a way, this was kind of like.
But like in ways, like is this a zombie movie? Is this like like it's just like you don't know, and you not knowing, it's always in your head, and the movie wants you to be in that space where you're just kind of paranoid and on edge. And I think that's the thing that's lost on a bunch of people, because again, like that paranoia started the moment the trailers did. So if you saw the trailer, and it's one of the only movies in history that I'm like, make sure you watch the trailer before you watch the movie.
Me too.
Because it's part of the experience.
Or even look at the poster, because it's just a dog barking at the darkness, and you're like,
absolutely.
What is that?
Yeah, what's it barking at? Yeah, it's coming. It's I think it's genius, and if people are saying it's the most worst marketed movie of all time, you miss the point for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, misunderstood completely. It totally fits the definition for me. What's another one of yours?
Maybe this was on a short list for you, or maybe it was in your mind at some point or whatever, but it was 2020's Tenet. Guys.
It was at one point, yes. Yeah.
You guys, you either slept on this movie or you were, what did we call it earlier? Distraught watching or whatever during 2020. We were all just kind of like, let's just put something on and turn off the noise for a little bit in the world. I don't know what happened, but like when I talk to people about that movie, and it's a complicated movie, you know what I mean? Like and I think it's supposed to be, but like you can still take away like how well it's shot and how well the ideas are executed on and how well the special effects are, especially when things start moving in like a reverse, non-reverse mode.
Oh my god, dude! Unreal.
It's totally unreal. There's so many cool things about this movie, and like this is a movie that like when you're done. Like it's asking you, you might want to go online and do a little homework. You know what I mean? Like someone's got an infograph out there that's gonna paint this in a way that like maybe puts all the puzzle pieces in your head.
Similar to
people don't like that. People don't like after
on it.
Exactly. People don't like after credit homework. You know what I mean? A lot of people aren't interested in a second experience post movie. And that's fine or whatever. But there's so many good things about this movie. Deep down at its core, there's a bromance going on, between Patterson and the protagonist and Denzel. What's that guy? David.
John David Washington. Yeah.
John David Washington. Like there's a lot of chemistry with them. Like the idea of them having some kind of across time friendship and stuff like that. I don't want to go too into spoilers and everything. Like there's a real cool dynamic going on there that like has a pretty good payoff. And
kind of sense the familiarity in the first interaction when you watch the movie back for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. By the way, it's great second, third, fourth rewatch because you're just like, and like it's Inception, guys. Like no one walked out of Inception going like, I know exactly what happened in that movie.
Yeah.
It took some years upon it. There's obviously we all kind of know the general template of everything, but a lot of people have a different interpretation of how that ends. And like while this movie has less to interpret and more digging to do, I would say it's worth digging for. And even if you don't want to do the after credits homework or whatever, watching it again, things just get really clear with that movie.
They really do.
In a way that like it's kind of more enjoyable on that second watch because like you kind of know what to expect, you kind of know all the twists and turns and everything like that. So that second watch, it's calmer. I wasn't trying to like, okay, so what's this mean? And temporal pincer, what is that? Like you're not worried about all the lingo that's already there for you. So it's like it was a calmer second watch for me in a way that like really elevated that movie.
Dude, my brain was spazzing out hard that first time I saw it. And they were explaining the temporal pincer, and I was like, I just need to see the scene. Just show me the scene already.
Yeah. I'm glad it's color coded too. That was really smart. But just another movie that I think people were just like, oh, it's another exposition-heavy bullshit fest from Christopher Nolan. Like, people are turning on Nolan all of a sudden. Like, Dunkirk was everyone loved Dunkirk, and suddenly, like, now everyone's back to like, oh, he's up to his same old tricks of explaining things to an audience ad nauseum. I'm just like, you guys, he has pretty high concept ideas going on. Movie has to stop and explain it to you sommes.
It's gonna
just
has to.
Yeah. It has to, you know. So it's like I've never minded the kind of long expositionatory stuff that even like Interstellar and stuff like that has. You know, it's just like just kind of his style.
I would call the polar opposite of that anything Refn does is like, because he has big concept ideas too in terms of like what his stories stand for and stuff, but he's using way less.
He's using way less
to
for
explain
sure.
It.
And his movies are way less appreciated, you know, because it's the barrier there, is higher, you know.
Definitely.
I'm just saying you're lesser people if you don't like these movies, guys. That's what I'm saying.
Just saying.
I'm just lower brain frequency.
Yeah, no, and please turn this off if you don't.
No. I totally get that some of these movies are just like, oh, I didn't misunderstand. I just don't like it. Hey, man, I get it, you know. But from a mass, you know, when we're talking about the masses and what you and I've seen in the media, conversations we've had with people online, all over the years and stuff like that, like you could easily say all, you know, 5 of these movies between the two of us that we brought, like are good definitions of what that means to be a misunderstood movie. Again, we're not telling you have to go out and rewatch The Matrix Resurrections and love it. Like, no one's saying that. No. Like, you've had your time. You're not going to like that movie.
These are definitely personal picks. That's why it's like pick 5. We're picking our own 5.
You know, just in terms of what these. Yeah. Right. But in terms of what these movies were saying and showing and stuff like that, it just it spoke out to us in ways, and many other people, you know, we're not alone in some of these picks, in ways that maybe your average Joe moviegoer just misses the mark on. And that's okay. You know, we're all appreciating things on different levels, and that there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it happens, guys. So my last one, because we already had 2 in common. So,
what was your last one? Yeah.
My last one is it's another modern one, and I remember getting really worked up about this on social media when I was seeing all the hate on it, and then it lost Best Picture, and that's when the hate kind of cooled off. But yeah, it's La La Land.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, to this day, I still like. I have to gauge the room before I go. I'm a La La Land fan because I don't want to deal with like. The backlash that causes, you know,
a white guy doing jazz.
Of course, you like a white guy move, you know, white Hollywood singing, all these white people singing on their car. Like, okay,
That opening number is a very diverse group of people deliberately because it's supposed to show you that it's a melting pot of people from all over the country and the world that came there to pursue their dreams. For better or worse, and a lot of them are just kind of settled. Like one of them was a mother. Another person is like clearly down on his luck in a used car and like making ends meet and stuff like that. Like everybody is just coming together to try and pursue their dreams, for better or worse. I love that opening number so much. Even though
I love that whole movie. I think that movie is fantastic.
They shot it. I love it. But yeah, there's this whole sentiment of Ryan Gosling, his character at least, is so obnoxious because he's white-splaining jazz to Mia. And I'm like, he's explaining what jazz means to him, to somebody who knows nothing about jazz.
Yeah.
And I know like so many people that play jazz, like personally as a musician, and I dabble. Everybody's allowed to play whatever genre of music makes them happy and fulfills them. Like, I mean, I'm sorry if that's like, I don't know, considered offensive to some people or something. I know
I really hope not.
I feel like I'm tiptoeing a little bit, but like, it's just kind of messed up that you're not allowed to play certain music or whatever. And I know that discrimination has existed well before white people were playing that music.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I understand the history behind it, but in the context of the movie, when he's explaining jazz to her, it's coming from somebody who is a jazz musician, and it is like the most important thing in the world to him. And he's explaining it to somebody who just said, I don't like jazz. So, I mean, that's really it. It's not meant to be like, I'm the best person to explain this to you. He's not saying these people on stage don't matter. He's saying, this is what it means to me, the person that's...
Yeah.
And then there's another aspect of it where people construe... what's his name? I think his name is Keith in the movie, but John Legend. his role. They are perceiving him to be written as a bad guy in the movie, and I've never taken him that way.
Yeah, I don't see it that way.
Everything he has said to Ryan Gosling's character, Seb, I'll just call him Seb now. Everything he said to Sebastian was true. And that's why Sebastian just sat there in silence and took it whenever they did their first rehearsal, and Sebastian's just sitting there. He's just kind of like surprised at the direction of the music, because it's jazz, but there's like hip hop and shit in there. So he's kind of like thrown a little bit, and he's like, I know it's different. And he's like, you always talk about how you want to save jazz, but you can't be a revolutionist if you're such a traditionalist. Like,
yeah.
And that's such a great line, because that is accurate to a T. That's Sebastian. Like, he refuses to evolve the music, the genre, to make it more appealing to the masses. He refuses. He's like, no, we're going to do it the old school way that they did in like black and white movies and shit like that. Like, we're going to do it that way. So, I mean, I think people perceive or think that the script was written to have John Legend's character be a bad guy, and I've never taken it that way. I've always thought of his, sure, his band does cause a wedge in the relationship and whatnot, but I've never taken any of the words that he said as like, oh, this is a bad guy saying bad guy things. Like,
yeah.
In fact, I've found him to be give the most accurate assessment of Sebastian's character in the entire movie. Like,
right.
Yep, that's him. He's stubborn as hell. He's a pain in the ass, like he said. Like,
yeah. So
people just have this misread on the movie completely just to shit on it, because it was high and mighty for quite a bit there until, it in dramatic fashion lost Best Picture. Because of a mix-up between old people.
What a flub.
Yeah, I know. And I think this will be Jimmy Kimmel's first time hosting again since then. This year. It's gonna be interesting. Do you have any others?
No, that was my 5.
Cool. I'm just gonna recap America's pick 5, I guess, for the. This is just a weekend box office. Not that it ever changes throughout the week, but number 5 was A Man Called Otto, holding strong. Tom Hanks, good for you, man. Number 4 is Missing. I talked about that on the Current Gen podcast. I really like that movie.
Like that one, yeah.
Megan Mathregan was at number 3, which is perfect, and it actually gained money. Is that right?
Insane. That movie is insane to me. 23? Like, the fact that it's doing so well as a January horror movie, like, it's so. I'm like, none of this makes sense to me.
Speaking of not making sense, number 2 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This one is just gaining so much steam. Have you seen that this is one of the highest rated movies from last year on Letterboxd?
No.
Like, the rating just keeps going up the more people see it. Because this movie is really good, but it's just like, is it that good? I don't know about that. Oh, yeah. I don't know about that, dude. But yeah, number 1 is that stupid James Cameron water movie. Who cares? Yeah, that's this week's.
I heard they're gonna bring fire to the next movie. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I heard. And then they're gonna bring in whatever, I can't think of a character's name from the show.
No, it's supposed to be a fart. I don't give a shit about any of that. That was our Raz of the week. We're allowed one. Next week it'll be Snyder.
Oh, that's amazing.
Hey, you see those rebel moon pics, guys? Fuck out of here.
Oh man. So thanks for listening. If you listened this long for the Current Cinema podcast, I said outright my mission was to do an hour-long episode.
We gotta find our group. We'll find it. Whatever.
It's early in the run, and the only people that'll give me the most crap for it are our Current Gen co-hosts.
Yeah, so, no. But I think that we can get it there. I think it's just about structuring and.
And it didn't help that the Oscar nominations literally came out today.
Yeah. Those are big. If you're having a movie contest, I feel like you have to talk about Best Picture noms.
Right. At least. And then I'll have more Sundance stuff to say next week, so there's more of that too. More extra news-related crap to pile on to our already long conversations. But I love talking about movies with you, man. So I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get some more people on here at some point. Whether they're from Current Gen or I know plenty of people in my life that want to talk movies with me, like on a podcast. Yeah. There's one guy who's like, we're kind of like Siskel and Ebert a little bit online, where we just argue with each other incessantly about movies. And he really wants to podcast with me because he wants everybody to see how deeply we argue. We argue so hard.
I'll be a fly on the wall. I'll let you guys just have at it.
Well, he loves the hell out of Pacific Rim, and I know you did too. But
I enjoy it. Yeah.
That's our main thing. We used to work together, and back and forth, we would just be like,
"You're wrong. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. Yeah."
We would just make offhanded comments to each other about like how Pacific Rim sucked, and he's like, "Oh," and then he'd say something about a movie I like that he thinks sucked or whatever. It's just that kind of fun.
You can't take digs at the darlings, you know?
Yeah. Well, I did change my personal Twitter account to the podcast because I don't really use that for music anymore. I don't really want to use Twitter for that. I just want to use it to blurt out movie shit. But if you want to follow us, you can. Current_cinema is I think that's the Twitter name. But yeah, please, if you're listening to us on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else they are, Stitcher, we're on all the places now as our own separate feed. So please subscribe to us. We'll only be on the current gen podcast feeds for like an episode or two more. And then we'll just solely, as far as just the podcast feed, we'll solely be on our own feed for that. YouTube wise, I think we're just going to stay on the channel.
Yeah.
Because that's fun. We put Chocobo Central there. We put other stuff there. We're going to.
That's where all of our current stuff is.
Yeah, exactly. The current
branded.
Brand. Yeah. So thanks for listening, everybody. I didn't even introduce us at the top, but I'm Jeff and he's Kyle.
Yeah, I don't and I don't care. So
I don't. Yeah. Who cares?
Good night and good fight.